I'm Marlo, and I am 31. For those of you, thank you. I hear I look good for my age. For those of you in the Jerusalem group, you know I talk a lot about my age, usually in the context of, no, I don't want to go out at 9:30 because I'm 31. And call me in 9 years when you're 31 and you'll understand how tired I am. But I'm mentioning it now because I think it's an important part of my personal story. I first came to Israel very unwillingly 6 years ago. My roommate at the time, one of those rare domineering Jewish women, forced me to sign up for Birthright, telling me I'd be an idiot to pass up a free 10-day vacation. And she was right. It was a completely transformative experience. I fell in love with the people and history and the land of Israel. Before the trip, Israel was a place I never thought about or cared about. After, it was part of my soul, a place I knew I belonged to as much as it belonged to me. When I came home from Birthright, you know what, can I angle this? I think I'll flip it. Okay. When I came home from Birthright, I was fortunate to have an amazing opportunity at work. I spent the next 5 years advancing my career, working usually 7 days a week, and making a lot of personal sacrifices for that success. There were times I really loved what I was doing, but well before I turned 30, I was burned out and unfulfilled. I looked back at my 20s and realized I spent so much time working that I neglected other really important areas of my life. As a result, I felt empty. But during that, this is the tiny violin part, right? But during this time, Israel, Jerusalem really, was in the back of my mind, a sanctuary, a place I could go to find meaning. From my office in Boston, I dreamed that Israel would provide the answers to all my questions about what I should do with my life, where I should be, and how I should live. So after 2 volunteer trips to Israel in spring 2010, I signed up for Wujs. It was pretty much the only non-religious program that would accept me at my ripe old age. But it also seemed like a good fit. Wujs offered a nice balance of structure and independence, and most importantly, it provided a community I could share the experience with. Most people, my parents included, thought I was crazy to give up the stable, successful career I had worked so hard to build, warning me, in this economy, you'll never find a job when you get back. Undeterred, I resigned from work, packed up my life in Boston, and headed to the promised land. It was a difficult transition. I felt old and out of place among my fellow participants. I had almost a decade of work experience under my belt, and some of them had just graduated college. Mazel tov, Josh. I went from managing operations for a $100 million division to just showing up at Beit RL because Yanit said to. During the first couple of months, I had an identity crisis, and I was shocked. I'm 31. I know who I am. But I didn't feel like myself. My timing was off. For years, my career had defined me, and without it, I felt lost. Who was I really? Why was I here? What was I doing in a Jewish state when I don't even feel Jewish? This place where I came to find answers was only revealing more questions. But we just provided a framework for education and community. And I realized that I was surrounded by friends, very talented friends, and younger friends, sure, but their energy was infectious and their perspective refreshing. We were on this journey together. I realized that in this context, who I was before didn't matter. Suddenly, every day was an opportunity to learn from everything and everyone around me. I had this time and space to devote to growing into the person I want to be in the next phase of my life. And in this process, I found a most unexpected answer. Through the Wujs Lehman seminars teaching me about Israel's incredible history, Friday nights at B'nai Kar and Nava Tehillah, Rachel Goldberg's brilliant Judaism classes, making religion approachable, interesting, and fun, and having time to myself to endlessly wander the beautiful streets of Jerusalem, I found the last thing I was looking for, faith. And for the first time, I felt Israel not intellectually, not emotionally, but spiritually. How amazing is it, and how privileged are we to have Israel to come to find whatever it is we are seeking, and even some things we're not. I think it's amazing. I do. During the 5 months on Wujs, I had a chance to learn and experience things I could never grasp during shorter visits when I was only seeing Israel through a bus window. Now I have a real idea of what it means to belong here because I've called this place home. It's not easy. Actually, most days it's really frustrating, especially in Jerusalem, where those insidious nursery rhyme school bells chime all day long. Do you have those in Tel Aviv? Oh, you're really lucky.
We have cats.
Okay, we have cats too. All right. And pushy Israelis cut you in line at the green umbrella falafel stand, even though you waited patiently for 5 minutes. And then, of course, not to mention that little thing, the Arab-Israeli conflict. Yet somehow I wake up each morning, renewed and excited for the day, feeling that just by being here, by being home, I'm living with purpose. I don't know why, but it's one question I don't need the answer to. Zora Neale Hurston, author of the brilliant novel Their Eyes Were Watching God, said something I've always held on to. There are years that ask questions and years that answer. I came to Israel with this quote in mind, really hoping that my time here would answer all my questions. I imagined how wonderful that would be. But I see now that questions and answers are constantly evolving because we're constantly evolving. And if we stop asking questions, we've stopped growing. I learned here that being Jewish means we're part of a tradition that values and encourages us to ask and seek, which is what I'm going to continue to do. I still have so much to discover about my identity as a Jew, as a woman, as a human. It's a lifelong quest. And from this experience, I know that I'm better off not having all the answers, or even most of them, because the journey is in the question. Thank you.